Major funding is provided by Illegal Pete's. And by Mamacita's Mexican Restaurant. By Paper Doll. By the Peppercorn. By Boulder Army Store. By Uptime Price Range for Botanical Herbal. By Mike's Marine and Boats. By Jones Drug. By El Dorado Natural Spring Water. By Alley Cats. Hey everybody, Jann Scott here on tonight's show. We're going to talk about the lesbian who harassed 4 basketball starters, women basketball. Now you turned it down too much. Okay. Well, we have a new director tonight. This is an interesting show. Welcome to the program this evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jann Scott. This is an interesting show we have coming up. We're going to talk to Clint Talbot earlier in the week, and we're going to run an interview with him in a little bit. Also, the Ramseys had their grand jury was selected today for the John and Patsy Are Guilty Ramsey murder trial that'll be coming up. You know, they are guilty, Jim, aren't they? Jim Bosch, ladies and gentlemen, a famous artist who watched a little bit of MSNBC. We'll play that some later on. Also, in today's Rocky Denver Post, there's a story about Sue Hennkit. He has a book out called Underwear by the Roadside. And that'll be here. That'll be our sordid section. No, actually, it's kind of an environmental ecology kind of piece be coming up here. And what else? Lots to talk about this evening. You can see here we have tons of things to talk about. But first, this is TV turnoff week comes at bad time for some. Maybe I'll put this mic on too. You think I should? Good idea, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. How's that? Good. The folks at TV Free America want you to discover during a 4th annual Tubular Tune-Out Party, National TV Turnoff Week, which kicks off today. That's today, here the 22nd, and runs through April 28th. Say what? That's right. It's no coincidence that, this is according to a Knight Ridder story, it's no coincidence that TV Turnoff Week kicks off on the eve of the annual May sweeps, the splashy channel surfing smorgasbord whose crucial ratings help determine future advertising rates. So it's called Turn Off Week, TV Turn Off Week. These folks are TV Turn Off Week at TV Free America, 611 Connecticut Avenue, Northwest, Suite 3A, Washington, D.C., 20009. And you know, a couple of years ago, we just had this thing called Turn Off Your Television, Don't Watch. So if you're watching me, we ran that for the full hour. There was nothing, just the sound of crickets and turn off your television. Now, of course, if you're watching me, well, you're probably not a good anarchist or a good socialist or a good, what's that other word, progressive, because you're watching television. Whatever. But no, this is a good idea. The folks at TV Free America predict that some 5 million people will go without TV for a week. The tune-out is endorsed by the American Medical Association, the American Federation of Teachers, the President's Council on Physical Fitness and Sports, and 31 governors. So there you have it. The beginning of National TV Turn-Off Week. Turn your television off for the week. So, and we're going to have a little piece on that here in just a little bit. Some of our viewers weren't real excited about it. But now also there's a study. This is the Rocky Mountain News, April 21st story. Study shows TV losing viewers to newspapers. Mage, get this. You know, the story's always been that people are actually reading newspapers less and watching TV more. Major market television stations seem to be losing viewers, while newspapers appear to be gaining readers, according to a comprehensive comparison of media. Primetime broadcast audience slipped 3% from 1996 to 1997 in the top 50 TV markets, according to Scarborough Research Corporation, the first competitive media index. But newspapers in those markets gained 700,000 new readers during the same period. Wow. We're intrigued with this study. Hooray! That's good, actually, isn't it? The Scarborough study also showed that in 1997, daily newspapers were read by 58.17% of adults, more than the number of viewers for primetime programming on broadcast stations, which are 42.4%. Is this true? Could it be? People are starting to read newspapers more and watch TV less. I'm having a hard time believing this. I don't know why. But here's another story that came out. Dan Rather. I love these guys. Remember last 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, I sort of beat up on Dan Rather, Tom Brokaw, and what's the other guy's name? Peter Jennings. This one says, media manipulation upsets Rather. Dan Rather was hardly happy. What is that? That's onomatopoeia? What is that? Hardly happy? What is that, Jim? You were a professor, Jim. Hardly happy is
Heartily happy?
No, heartily happy.
Heartily.
No,
this
hardly.
Sounds like
hardly
bad
as
grammar.
in hardly.
He was hardly very happy.
All right. Dan Rather was hardly happy. That's a bad first lead. That CBS interrupted its daytime programming April 16th to carry the Paula Jones press conference. The network decided it had to air it because of the competition, but we should have the confidence to make our own decisions. All too often, we don't stop and think, so they carry it. Is anyone going to think the worst for it? Rather makes the point, we're being manipulated so often, and I think we can do a better job of not being manipulated by the president and the White House and the other sides. He adds, when I learned that Paula Jones would just be making a statement and taking no questions from the press, the hair on the back of my neck started to rise, and I realized we're about to be manipulated again. She appeared, wept, made her statement by appealing to the judge, and then the least surprising admission, she sat down. I was surprised we aired it. I wish we hadn't. Oh, Dan, come on. You know, you guys are always doing this stuff, and you're always coming out and saying, we're so sleazy. But you're the news editor, Dan. Can we switch the camera? But you're the news editor, Dan. Let's try switching. There it is. Oh, there you are. But you're the news editor, Dan. He has a lot of power there. He gets to make these decisions. I don't know what these guys are up to.
Hey, Jan?
Yeah.
Philip K. Dick, the writer, called those guys news clowns.
Who called them news clowns?
Science fiction writer, Philip K. Dick. News clowns. In the future, they'll just be wearing clowns outfits.
Thanks.
And they don't make any decisions really. They just pretend that they do. Hey, did Paula Jones really take no prisoners?
No.
That sounded better than the actual story.
How do you like our air conditioning system? I'm pounding on the table. Paul, she was in, what was the name of that magazine that she was just in?
Penthouse or another one?
You know the one I'm talking
I
about?
thought she was in Penthouse.
Penthouse. I mean, she claims the president sexually whatever to her, and then she runs down the street, rips her clothes off, and appears in Penthouse. It just doesn't make any sense, does it?
He's signaling to you, boss.
Do they work? We got more than one camera, guys? Yeah,
We have three cameras.
All right.
Keep looking.
It just doesn't make any sense, does it? Huh?
Right.
How did she go and do that? How did she just...
That was while she was taking no prisoners. She was went to Penthouse. Wasn't that quite a while ago?
Do you believe her? Does anybody believe her, incidentally? 4403572 if it's on April 22nd.
Even the National Organization for Women doesn't believe her.
They better not do that. If they come out and defend her, they do. They're getting ready to come out and defend her, aren't they?
No, they decided today not to.
Oh, is that right?
Right. It was on all the shows.
Oh, good. All right. Well, let's have a look at this little cartoon here on National TV Out Week.
Watch that awful TV week, but I can't miss the Jann Scott live show. My life just wouldn't be complete. I can't bear to miss
It's
it.
actually right up there.
I agree. This is can't miss stuff, and besides, it's sweeps week. We have to support Jan.
The dear guy go, he just talk.
He has a live talk, too. Live. Don't you know?
He has special guests too.
That's actually him.
Oh. Well, he really hammers home those important points.
That's good.
Guilty.
Takes me a while to catch on sometimes.
They're guilty.
And you can call in and even talk to him live.
Guilty.
Sometimes he's even polite.
4.71 jaw.
Great camera angles too. I like the camera shots.
They're guilty. They're guilty. Guilty. The Ramseys are guilty.
Hey, what was that?
Uh-oh.
Mhm.
Happy Secretary's Day, baby.
Oh, these chair fights are so much better than mud fights. Oh, I love this stuff.
Jerry Springer
Lots of
rocks.
sex too. This is the part I don't hear get though. I don't understand this stuff.
Jann Scott Live. That's our Jim Bosch doing his cartoon, famous cartoon. Was my mic on the whole time there, or was it off? It was on? Yeah. You know, I'm kind of over-modulating here a little bit. You can hear all the feedback in here. Thank you, guys. That's our... Hey, did Zach ever show up? Oh, he's actually here? That's amazing. Hey, welcome back, Zach. Zach Daudert, folks, was in the North Pole tonight. What's that sound like? Does that sound good? No. All right. Now, where the heck was I? 4403572 or 4471 jaw is the other number. Now, you know, and we're going to take comment line calls tonight. We're also going to take your calls. And I had what's the next thing on the little schedule that we're going to do this evening? Oh, here it is. I'll have to look and see myself. Aha, Jim's tape. Okay, the next thing is Clint Talbot. He won an award for the editor of the Colorado Daily, won an award for a Pulitzer nomination. Okay, he was nominated for a Pulitzer. He was the actually a finalist in this. So we talked to him on the telephone today, and it's Clint Talbot, first time he's ever been on our show, the editor of the Colorado Daily. Ready to go with that? Here it is. What this story was about, what was the compelling part of this story that made it so interesting?
Well, what I did was I attended a rape trial last summer, and I watched the thing I watched the whole trial, including the closing statements, and I did that partly because I'd been writing about sexual assault for a number of years, and I had never attended a trial, and although I had written about the legal system, I had never actually attended a trial, so I thought it would be good for me to do that. So what happened when I attended this trial is I saw a couple things that upset me. One of those was that I thought that the defense attorney took liberties with the facts, basically impugned this woman's character without having any evidence to do so, and misstated evidence. Said that witnesses said things they didn't say, characterized evidence as indicating things that it didn't indicate, things like that. And so basically the question that I was left with when I walked out of there was, does the defense attorney have to observe the same kind of
Gabe?
level of honesty and truthfulness that a witness on the stand would have? And so basically what I did was I wrote a 5-part series of editorials in which much of the editorial comment was directed at that question. Is there an ethical consideration? I mean, can't you defend your client vigorously as you're supposed to without resorting to falsehoods, basically?
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, I also addressed some other issues too. But that was like the central thesis.
It's interesting because defense attorneys as well as district attorneys are considered to be agents of the court. They're supposed to operate at the highest degree of integrity. And I mean, it's interesting that you had to bring this up in a 5-part editorial series and even, beg that question when this is what these guys are supposed to be held at the highest standards. It's the law.
Right, it is the law. But the thing is that who's going to enforce this? If they're pressing if they're pushing the envelope, who's going to call them on the carpet for it? In many cases, they feel that in the course of researching this, I interviewed several attorneys, including the Boulder Bar Association's media committee and a couple of other attorneys. And the reaction was, basically I said, well, here's what this guy said. Here's what the Code of Ethics says. Isn't this wrong? And in some cases I got an answer that was something approximating, yes, that is wrong. But in other cases the reaction was, no, he's just trying to make his case. He's just trying to do what he's supposed to do, which is to represent his client. But so then I come back and I say, yes, but, what he's saying is untrue. Or what he's saying has no evidence to back it up. So isn't that wrong? And,
Isn't this an indictment of the judges too? Because they're supposed to run a clean courtroom. I mean, a judge who knows the law and knows about ethics shouldn't allow this kind of stuff to happen in his courtroom or her courtroom.
Well, in fact, the judge who was overseeing this case didn't. Basically what happened was the attorney tried to introduce this line of questioning about the witness's drug use, when there was no evidence that there was any drug use. And the prosecution objected and the defense sustained the objection. So, but nonetheless, the defense attorney had succeeded in, starting to ask that question in front of the jury. And even though the judge said, okay, that's pure speculation, that's wrong, and you can't mention that in your closing statements, you can't mention anything about drug use, he did it anyway. And, at that point, well, what is the judge going to do? Throw him out of the courtroom? He's just kind of slid it in there.
Could file someone could file a complaint, but lawyers don't do this, to the Colorado Grievance Committee. I mean, a lawyer could be sanctioned or even disbarred if they've broken the law.
Right. Well, that's the thing, I mean, this is, I think what we're talking about here is one of those areas where they've stepped over the line a little bit. This is my opinion. They've stepped over the line a little bit. But it's not so far that, anybody's willing to call out the posse about it. They've just stepped over far enough so that they can do what they want to do, which is to try to win.
You think it's because they're all lawyers and they're all part of this sort of good old boy syndrome, and they all do it, so therefore they're not going to try to sanction or file a grievance against one of their own?
I mean, you certainly have to suspect that, yeah. I mean, you certainly have to suspect that, there might be an attitude in the ranks that's something to the effect that, well, we know how it is, we know what the pressures are, and, we think this is basically the way the game is played. And, maybe, yeah, I mean, you certainly got to suspect that.
So, how did you hear about the nomination for the Pulitzer? I mean, that's a rare. Is that not a rare honor, or just a nomination? And
well, I mean, technically, it's I was named a finalist, so I was one of 2 finalists for the Pulitzer in editorial writing, and I'm told that it's pretty rare, So yeah, so I guess it's kind of rare.
did they send you a plaque or anything, or a letter? Or,
Well, I got a letter. I don't know if they're going to send me a plaque. I got a letter from Columbia University saying, congratulations, blah blah blah.
They send you any money?
No, if you win, you get $5,000. If you're a finalist, you get a nice letter.
Really? And have you been called to make appearances? Besides this show, have people been calling you to say, "Well, will you speak here or there," or any of that kind of stuff going on?
Not really. No. I mean, I do get invitations to speak from time to time anyway, but no, I don't. Not particularly. No.
Okay. Have any journalists called you? Has Jimmy Breslin called you and said, "Hey, way to go, Clint," or any of that?
No, oddly enough, this really surprised me. But oddly enough, the Daily Camera, the people at the Daily Camera, have been really nice and really complimentary to me, and I wouldn't have expected that.
Maybe they're trying to steal you away from the Colorado Daily.
They didn't talk about any potential jobs. I think they were just being nice. But,
Are you talking about Nadia White, the reporter, or just the staff at the Camera in general?
well, I got several people over there offered me their congratulations, independent of her and her story that she wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I was surprised, first of all, that they wrote a story about it and they teased it on the front page. I would not have expected that from a crosstown newspaper.
Well, it makes sense to me. I mean, Pulitzer Prize nomination, doesn't matter what it's in. It's a front page news story. How about the people at the Colorado Daily? Are you like the big hero over there, or are they all walking around sulking, going, "Why didn't I get a nomination?"
Oh, they're all sick of me. No, they've all been really nice, and I think if anything, they want to, they want to see if they can learn anything from, my experience and see if I can help them in their own writing.
Mm-hmm. We've had a lot of very famous editors at the Colorado Daily. Paul Danish, Tim Lang, Sam Maddox, who've gone on to do other great things. You've been there the longest, you think, as an editor?
Well, Tim Lang was, he had the longest, stretch of time during which he was associated with the paper. He came to the paper in, I think, 69 or 70, something like that. And although he left for a while to go to college, he came back to the paper. And his whole tenure stretched from, 71 as editor to 86 when he left, even though he was gone for a couple years in there. So I haven't been here that long, but I'm getting close.
Right.
I've been here almost 14 years now.
Now, another personal question for you. Why haven't I seen any of my letters in the Colorado Daily over the past, 6 or 7 months? Do you know?
Well, I was looking at, one of the things that's happened is we've gotten this huge crush of letters that have come in, the hard copy letters. Like, there are two ways. I'll tell you a secret.
Yeah.
If you get email and you send letters to us via email,
Yeah.
the turnaround time is like 5 times faster than if you send in hard copy letters.
How many letters do you get there a day?
Well, it varies, but it can be, I don't know, email letters we could get like 10 to 30. It depends. But to address your question,
Yeah.
I've got a stack of hard copy letters that we're as far as 6-8 weeks behind on, and it's just because we haven't gotten on top of the hard copy letters as much as we should have, and that's one of those things.
It's nothing personal.
Nothing personal.
And it's not like your managing editor, Ms. White. It's not like is she in charge of the letter department? Or is that, no. Oh, okay.
No, nothing personal.
You guys don't hate me over there?
No, we enjoy you. Actually, you're good for readership because usually when you write in, we get a few more responses. So
Yeah, like a lot. All right. Well, thanks, Clint. Congratulations on your nomination.
Thanks a lot.
And thanks for taking some time and talking with us.
You bet.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. You're watching Jann Scott Live. I'm Jann Scott, and this is the Big TV Show, live every Wednesday night right here. We have a live call-in show. It's 440-3572. Also, if it's on another day, you can call us on the viewer comment line right over here at 447-1529. There it is over there. Other days. It's the other days line. You can call in, leave a message on the comment line voicemail, and then we'll play it back at another time. And you can hear. Actually, let's hear one of those comment line calls right now, and then you can see what it sounds like. Yeah, then this is somebody's call. We'll see what they have to say. I'm sure they like me.
Choice, that these are individuals that choose to go on a birth control program of their choice, and that if they want to have the Norplant taken out, they can have the Norplant taken out. What we don't support is forcing a particular class of women, that is low-income women, to use a particular kind of birth control.
Yes, Dean.
How about the women who are on welfare, though, and have already had one kid that they can't support?
Hey,
I do agree with forced Norplant for them after they've had a kid until they get off welfare and support themselves, because I don't think the taxpayers should have to subsidize their bad choices in life.
Well, how about this? And now you make an interesting point, because
Put the wrong side in. But that's kind of what a viewer comment line sounds like. Just flip the tape around. Let's hear it one more time.
End of message.
Oh yeah, that's good. Viewer comment line.
Marriages. What about tax trees? It really, you're just perpetuating what society sets into motion. The fact that everybody wants to involve themselves with what other people want to do with their own lives. I'm not a gay person or anything like that, and I don't give a shit what other people do with their lives, and I don't see why you do.
I heard that last week, but there's another one that comes out that's even better. Let's hear. Just let it roll. Let's hear the next comment. Here we go.
Yeah, comment about the February 4th program.
Sure.
You were asking about the Texas execution of Tammy Faye.
Oh,
I think she got exactly what she deserved. I mean, she committed a brutal murder, and it's great that she found God, and that's wonderful for her, and she went to go meet him because, I mean, it's just not fair that other person never had the same opportunities that she was provided after the fact, after the commission of her crime. So I feel that they should have fried her. She got what she deserved, and they should keep and continue to do exactly just that. Thank you.
Hasta Tammy Faye. And she got to meet Jesus a lot sooner than she might have ordinarily got to see him, which is a good thing. All right, so that's the comment line. Now, in today's Denver Post, there's a story about Glenn and Sue Hennkit, where they walked a year long from Maine to Oregon in 1993, and along the way they picked up trash. And Glenn's been out walking the roads 287. Today he went from Berthoud to Longmont. Thursday, which is tomorrow, he's going from Longmont to Louisville. And we actually have him here in studio. Incidentally, folks, there's a book called Underwear by the Roadside right here. Glenn, thanks for coming by and seeing us and visiting with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good. So tell us a little bit about Tell us about this crazy book, and how'd you come up with this title, Underwear by the Roadside?
Well, that was happened to be the most unusual Yet one of the most common things that we found as we were walking from coast to coast. We found underwear in every state except Kansas, and a farmer in Kansas told us that they don't throw their underwear away there. They wear them until there's holes in them, then they use them for dust rags.
Yeah. Now, you actually found the underwear on the side of the road?
Actually found a pair today, no less, right outside of Longmont.
That makes sense. I don't know what it is about Longmont, but so why did you do this 1993 journey? Why did you and your wife decide you walked from where now?
Walked from Maine to Oregon.
Maine to Oregon.
We had wanted to get out and have a long trip to really see the country, see what's out there.
Yeah.
And we had read a bunch of books like Peter Jenkins's Walk Across America, The World Walker, and thought that it sounded like a romantic thing to do. And then we decided that walking across the Great Plains could tend to get a little bit boring at times, walking town to town with nothing but water towers for scenery.
Exactly right.
We figured litter would be a perfect thing to, first of all, divert us as we were walking these long stretches town to town. Plus, it gave us a chance to make a statement to newspapers, to people we met, that litter is unnecessary evil out there.
So did you carry, like in your backpack, did you carry like a big bag of like Hefty bags or something like that?
Actually, Hefty Bag was one of our sponsors. All the equipment that we used on the trip was sponsored by the companies that made them.
Mm-hmm.
Hefty gave us coupons for free bags in any town that we went to.
And what'd you do once you filled them up?
We worked like the Adopt a Highway program, where we'd leave the bags by the side of the road and the state crews would come by and pick them up.
Did you use a stick with a nail, or did you bend over and pick up things?
Actually, we were thinking of using sticks with nails, but there's a company down in Colorado Springs that makes a stick that's got a claw on one end and a trigger on the other.
Yeah.
Makes it a lot easier. You never have to touch the trash.
Mm-hmm. Probably comes in handy for other things too.
Actually, we've got one inside the house right now. If things fall behind the couch or behind the desk, we can just reach over and grab it without moving furniture.
Or if like your cat gets out of line, you could just like reach over and grab him by the neck, you know. I'm a cat lover myself. Hell made me think that. This is so. So this worked out, huh? What highway did you walk on?
For the coast to coast?
Yeah.
We walked a multitude of highways. Mm-hmm. We started in Maine and walked southwest to Shenandoah, and then across to St. Louis.
What highway numbers did you use? Old 2-lane highways?
Mostly old state roads, some county roads, even some local roads, and walked a little bit of the Appalachian Trail.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Is there trash on the Appalachian Trail?
Very little, except right at the trailheads, where the non-hikers can get to, and they'll sit there and party there at some of the shelters.
Did you walk on Highway 34 or 36 coming across the United States?
Actually walked on Highway 34 and US 6 through Nebraska and eastern Colorado.
Oh yeah, US 6. Is that still is that existing there? Is it 636 or just 6?
It's 6 and 34 are together for a while.
Okay.
And then near the Nebraska-Colorado border, the 6 goes north and 34 goes south.
Yeah, 34 is a pretty cool road, incidentally. If you get to drive on it, it starts right up here in Greeley, and then you can go east on it for a long, long way.
I believe it starts in Chicago and runs all the way, ends, I believe, in Rocky Mountain National Park. 34 or 36, one of those ends up in Rocky Mountain Park.
Glenn Hennkit is with us. The book is called Underwear by the Roadside. It's a self-published book, but you're going to be signing books. Where are you going to be tethered? No, tether cover?
On Sunday at the Westminster Barnes & Noble. And then on Saturday, May 2nd, at the Walking Company in Cherry Creek Mall.
Oh, the Walking Company is a very cool place.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, nice. They have nice shoes there too.
In fact, I bought a couple pair from them.
Yeah,
very comfortable.
Yeah, they have they make good stuff. And then tomorrow morning, which is Thursday, the 23rd of April, you're going to be. If people coming and joining you each morning, are they out there helping you pick up trash or no?
On Friday morning, picking up on Highway 42 outside Louisville. And the American Legion has adopted that stretch of road, and they're going to come out and pick up with me on Friday morning.
The American Legion?
Yes. Actually, I work with a guy that's in the American Legion, and so he's organized several of his friends.
They're mostly like Civil War, World War I, World War II vets, right?
I think there's some. The guy I work with is not quite that old.
No, I know. I just that always. Jim, were you in the American Foreign Legion or whatever, or American Veterans for the Foreign? What'd you say it was?
American Legion.
American Legion. Jim, were you in the American Legion?
I was not in the American Foreign Legion. Is there such a thing?
I think you have to turn your microphone up there because we can't hear him in here. Yeah.
I've never heard of the American Foreign Legion.
Yeah.
I wasn't in it.
Just trying to see if you're awake back there. It's Glenn Hennkit, ladies. It is Hennkit, right?
Yes, it is.
Glenn Hennkit, and great book. I haven't read it yet, but I'm about to. Will you be at the Creek Festival again this year during the rain and everything?
No, not this year. Looks like we'll maybe taking a little break ourselves, going up to some of the like Dinosaur National Monument or something.
If you have any phone calls for Glenn, you can call him right here at this number. We're at 440-3572. He walks the walk, talks the talk. Yeah, really, it is. It's doing it, huh?
I'd like to, and on Saturday I'm going to be picking up on the Cherry Creek and Platte River bike trails from Globeville Park to Confluence Park, then down towards the Country Club. And I'm encouraging people to come out and help me pick up the bike trails on Saturday morning. It's going to be a beautiful day.
How's your wife take to all of this? You guys pretty much get along? Has it solidified your marriage and everything, or have you all gone a little
I think we helped us to grow together quite a bit.
Yeah.
We had definitely had our moments there near the end of the first half.
Yeah.
Where the stresses of 6 months together and some bad weather, etc., made it. We had our touch and go moments there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think as a whole, we've grown a lot closer together because of what we went through.
How long have you been married?
Actually, we celebrated our first 2 anniversaries on the road. Oh. Some people.
You spent your first 2
anniversaries on the road.
First 2 wedding. The first year you got married, you went on the road walking.
That's correct.
It's like trying to run away, but you could never run away. It's like we ran away from home, but couldn't get away from it. Oh, wow, that is exciting. So if it stayed together then, it's got to stay together. How long have you been married now?
So we'll celebrate our 6th anniversary in the summer, in July.
You're a software engineer, is that right?
That's correct.
By trade?
As they
say in the trades.
That's the job that gives me the money so I can do stuff like this.
Are you working now? Or?
Yes, I work for Storage Tech right along the freeway.
Okay. And I love this. This is so great. So you'll be out walking again. Any more trips planned, or what are you going to be doing this summer? Just selling books and working and hiking the trails of Colorado?
A lot of that.
Yeah.
The next trip of this sort hasn't been arranged yet. Who knows? There'll probably be another one in the future. Once it gets in your blood, it's, gosh, you got to get out there and do something like this.
When I read about you in the paper this morning, I thought, I got to have you down here because, we have the Ramseys going on and all this craziness. And here's a story about a man and his wife who are actually making a contribution, to society. You don't just talk it, you walk the walk, talk the talk and walk the walk. It's inspiring. Unlike me, because I just sit around and, chat, which is sort of what I do for a living.
Well, it's something that, even when we're not out there doing a week-long walk, we'll still occasionally grab our litter sticks out and go out and clean up around our neighborhood. Because it's just, even around home, it's always going to get dirty.
What about your shirt? Does that shirt have any significance? Is that just...
It's a Christmas present from my in-laws.
Oh, no.
While I was walking, I've got shirts that say "People Against Litter."
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
PAL for short.
PAL. And what about the watch? Did that watch go with you anywhere, or no? Or is that just something
that's
you
just
found under the couch?
And there are a couple of things that we found on the road that we actually kept. There's a couple pillows that we found while we were out there walking that we used on the walk, and we've still got one of them. In fact, I was using that earlier in this trip, sleeping on. The sunglasses, Ray-Ban sunglasses I picked up in Pennsylvania and still wear those.
Yeah.
Those last a long time.
You didn't happen to get on Highway 66, Route 66 at all, did you?
Walked just a very little bit of that in St. Louis.
Oh, in St. Louis,
sort of going north to south at that point. We were heading east to west.
Yeah. And got any road stories? You must have a million, but anything that stands out, like dogs or, I don't know, came across a dead body or something?
Well, actually, everyone asks if we ever had any dead bodies. And
I'm not the only one.
Because I've been talking a lot of schools on this trip, and that's one of the standard questions the kids ask.
Yeah.
And actually, we almost did discover one. We were in Missouri and had planned to stop at this churchyard we knew was like a half mile ahead of us. And right before we got there, the police cars come racing by with their sirens flashing. Turns out some old man had driven into the parking lot there and shot himself, right through the head. And luckily, we didn't discover that.
Yeah.
Thank heaven. That would not have made our day.
No, that would have been really bad. It's an omen. It's what's going to happen to you.
But sometimes we meet rather strange people that are shocked. When we were east in Colorado, walking down the road, and this car, Trans Am, driven by a young guy, comes blasting by us and pulls immediately off to the side of the road. So he's going to pick us up, take us to the next town. I walk up to the driver's side, to the passenger side. He's busy taking all the trash off the passenger seat for a place for me to sit. And I say, well, thanks for offering me the ride, but I'm walking across the country.
Yeah.
And he says, what country? Just couldn't understand that.
Are you crazy?
Of course, in eastern Colorado, I'd have a hard time believing it too.
Oh man, that's a long.
It's a big nothing.
Yeah, a long walk. Questions here for Glenn. Road questions. Glenn Hennkit and his wife walked across America. 440-3572 if it's April the 22nd. If it's not April the 22nd, you're SOL. But you can leave a comment on 447-1JAW is the comment line. Let's see, I was going to ask you some other question. What about dogs?
Luckily, we
cats,
didn't have
interesting animals, bears, snakes.
Didn't have much problem with dogs. There were a couple that there was only one instance where the dogs really charged us, and the owners were right there, called them off very quickly.
Where did you sleep?
We camped almost every night. Every couple of weeks, we'd grab a hotel room if we hadn't had a shower for a while.
Where did you shower if you didn't have a hotel room?
The best place for us was crossing the Midwest, crossing Nebraska and Kansas. Every little town, it was over 300, 400 people, had a city park with a pool right there. Okay. And we could just walk into the pool. They'd go ahead and let us use their showers for free.
What state was this?
Kansas and Nebraska.
Kansas and Nebraska. They've got it going on there. Kind of
oh yeah. Every town, more than 400 people, is going to have a pool there.
What about bugs, humidity?
One of the biggest problems we faced was in Ohio and Kentucky with ticks.
Ticks.
Miserable for ticks. Every time we stopped for a break, we'd have to pick 4 or 5 off our legs or boots or pants.
They burrow their way under your skin?
Well, hopefully we were catching them before they got that far.
And if they got that far, would you just take a cigarette or a lighter or something?
I don't think we actually had any that got that far. We kept, we stopped very regularly and kept checking for them because they were a real big problem there for several weeks.
What'd you carry for self-defense in case, like the local ex-murderer just gotten out of the hospital? Like John and Patsy Ramsey as an example.
We had worried about that. Yeah. In fact, my wife's parents were petrified about our safety out there. So we ended up deciding to carry a can of mace and never came even close to thinking we might need to use it.
No handguns, nothing? Or
no.
Nunchuck, big knives, things
No.
Police? Were the police, how were they? Did they ever stop and talk to you and say, how you doing, you folks okay, that kind of thing? Or?
Oftentimes they would stop and quite often we'd stop at the police department to get permission to camp in a city park or a churchyard so they would know we were there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And did people drive along the road and say, hey, how you doing? What you folks up to? And come out in towns and visit with you and things like that?
Quite a few. We were in newspapers in almost every town we passed through. Sometimes people would drive, 10, 15 miles out of their way just to come take a picture of us. Yeah.
Did you ever get invited to somebody's house for lemonade, or be walking right down Main Street and somebody come out with an old lady come out with a pitcher of lemonade or something, or any of that?
Lots of times. We had a few dozen people across the country that would have us in for a meal or have us in for the night. Have these just feasts, home cooked feasts.
No kidding. Who had the best food? What state or what?
One feast that I can absolutely remember was in West Virginia. A welfare worker, caseworker, went ahead and found us and had us up in their log cabin they'd built, and just had a spread that went on and on. Just wonderful food.
Yeah, I traveled Route 66 from Chicago to L.A., and 2 places I can think of for breakfast is this log cabin place in Williams, Arizona. They make their own bread there, and they specialize in French toast. And the best French toast, absolutely, in America. They have 30 or 40 different types. And then the other place was in, amazingly enough, Winslow, Arizona. Some old Greek guy has this ham and eggs places where all the locals go, and they had, so I've eaten breakfast all across America, and these 2 places were stand out for me. I don't know what's making me think of that, but it seemed important at the time.
And the best breakfast that we had on the trip was in B&B in Searsport, Maine.
Yeah.
people had actually seen us walking along the road and invited us in for a couple of nights, free of charge.
Oh, yeah.
And they were making, it was just the time of year that they made maple syrup. It was coming out of the trees, and we actually got a chance to help them collect the sap and sit there and stir it over the fire.
Is that right?
It's got to boil for 24 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And then that following morning, we had some of that maple syrup we helped make over those pancakes that next morning, and it was, nothing to describe it.
Let's go to the phones. John, you have a question or a comment for Glenn Hennkit?
Yeah, hi guys. Glenn, I'm enjoying hearing your tales about your trek across the country, and I was wondering if you had considered ever doing it again.
I would consider doing it again, but the big problem that we had on the trip was my wife really suffered. She had untold blisters. She pulled ligaments in her knee, and she ended up breaking 2 bones at different times.
Wow.
100 miles into the trip and 100 miles from the end.
Stress fractures? Or what?
One, at 100 miles into the trip, she was stepping off a porch in Maine and carrying her pack, and she just missed that last step. It was a creaky old porch, and just snapped the ankle. And then in Oregon, 100 miles before the end of the trip, we were packing a tent, and she hit a stake that was jammed into the ground, almost, invisible, and hit that and just pitched forward and broke her shoulder. So
Another thing I was wondering about, obviously a trek across the country like this makes me wonder, what kind of shoes were you wearing?
I wore hiking boots, which provided the support that I felt I would need on the ankles, etc.
What size, what level hiking boots?
They were Merrill was the brand name, and they were
light,
Gore-Tex. They were fairly light, yeah.
Yep.
My wife started out with the same type of boots, quickly discovered that female anatomy is a lot different in terms of feet. Her feet swelled to about a size and a half larger than what she'd started off with. And we heard from other people hiking the Appalachian Trail that it's common with women. And so she went through 2 or 3 pairs of hiking boots and then started going to basketball shoes, walking shoes, running shoes. Ended up with men's basketball shoes is what worked best for her.
Right. I have actually hiked a bit of the Appalachian Trail myself, and that's beautiful.
Yes, it is.
I was wondering, as you're hiking across the country, it sounds like you were staying along roads or highways most of the way. And if so, obviously I'm picturing you alongside of a highway and there's generally gravel or even more asphalt. Did you find your wife, probably even more so, wanting to get further off the road that she could walk on a softer surface?
Thanks for your call there, John. That's your last question. Go ahead.
Yes, we tried to stay as far away from the traffic as we could, but we also did our best to stay on less traffic roads. There was only a few stretches of interstate, like I-76 from Wiggins to Fort Lupton, where there was no side route to take, and then a little bit of I-84 through Idaho, where there once again was no other side route to take. Otherwise, we'd stayed on roads that had a little bit less traffic. West Virginia was one of the worst because on US 33, that is the main route through there, and it's fairly narrow, and you've got coal trucks going through there all the time. So we really tried to stay as far off to the side as we could.
Do you have drunk people go by and throw beer cans at you and that kind of stuff? Do you get much of that?
Did have a few times where truck had passed by and they'd throw a can out in front of us.
But not too much.
No, not too much at all, thank heavens.
Yeah, that's good. The book is called Underwear by the Roadside, Coast to Coast Litter Walk. Glenn Hennkit has written the book. He traveled with his wife. It's out and about, and he's out on 287 mornings, is that right, or all day, or what?
Pretty much mornings. Tomorrow I'll probably be walking until about 1 o'clock. Tomorrow I'll actually go US 287 to Colorado 7 over to Highway 42 to get up to Louisville.
Well, thanks for coming by, visiting with us tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, good talking with you. Next, we're going to look at the Ramsey tape here. This is from MSNBC tonight. Peter Boyles, Professor Tracy from CU, and a bunch of other people talking about this grand jury investigation, grand jury trial, grand jury that's being picked today here in Boulder. But watch this. Watch the interaction between Tracy and Peter Boyles.
Point that out. Wait a minute. We are the editorial page of whatever it is. We are writing opinions. You do opinions in the evening. We do them in the morning. Hang on. You've listened to Tracy. What is this constitutional right? These people have created...
It's called the bedrock of our constitutional system and our system of justice.
Please,
it's the most important presumption there is.
Please, it has nothing to do. That's going to happen in a courtroom.
Finish the sentence, Peter. What you're trying to say is that it'll happen in the courtroom. It doesn't necessarily have to happen on your radio show.
Well, if anyone has, but please, Geraldine, if anyone has understood constitutional rights, it's the Ramseys and hiring 12 lawyers. They got a fast-pitch softball team working for them. Listen, these are people who have created the story themselves by having certain people in the media having their access and moving and doing all the kinds of things that they have done. They have created the story, not the media.
Bob Grant, let me just ask you something. You are the DA here. Are you going to take the same position that Mike Tracy has, that a presumption of innocence is something that should extend to every mouth, chattering mouth in the country, and every ear looking for salacious details, or is it essentially a promise that is made in courtroom procedures?
I tend to agree with Mr. Tracy on some things and with Peter on others. Certainly the presumption of innocence is a court presumption. It's a legal thing. And in fact, one of the beauties of living in a free society is we have a free press, and the free society can make up its mind about the free information it receives. The free society is presumed to know the presumption of innocence.
Ann Louise Bardock, in your investigation of the investigation, do you believe the Ramseys did not get a presumption of innocence?
Well, I think that Mr. Tracy's making a good point about, for instance, the tabloids. The tabloids, without doubt, have tried and convicted the Ramseys. You pick it up, it says dad did this, mom did this, son is guilty, whatever. But the Ramseys, however, have an option. They can sue. And as I wrote in my story, they can do that, but they haven't exercised that. On the other hand, let me add about the media, certainly that they've been at the receiving end of it with the tabloids, but they also have had some advocates in the mainstream media where they've had some very good coverage, kind of positive to them. But they have never decided to sue, and they have that option.
Michael Tracy, though, I mean, are we mixing up apples and oranges? I mean, if you've been in this country, 10 years or something, yeah. You know it is a free speech to excess, and that is what we do. Why is this so damaging to the Ramseys? They'll have their presumption of innocence in court.
Well, I think your own phrase, the free speech to excess, is a very interesting phrase. I mean, the concept of excess worries me, troubles me. I'd like to ask Peter Boyles whether he thinks there should be a constitutional amendment to remove the right to be presumed innocent.
Peter? No, I am not a judge. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a jury. I have nothing to do with the courts. I am the essence of an editorial page writer. I write editorials on the air, verbally.
And you have no responsibilities?
Responsibilities? Sure.
You have no journalistic responsibilities?
How about painting the potential jury?
I can only hear one.
John, don't pile on. It's Mike and Peter right now.
I can only hear one question at a time. I do not have anything to do with what happens to the Ramseys if, in fact, this grand jury indicts them. That's going to be 14 people in Boulder. It's going to be a judge. It's going to be Alex Hunter's office.
No, none of them listen to your show, Peter?
Pardon?
None of them listen to your show?
I hope they do.
For heaven's sake, Peter, when I first got involved in this guy, I almost deliberately stayed away from the case for most of, certainly the first half of last year. And about September, in fact, it was the weekend after Dynamo School, I wrote a piece in the Daily Camera, in which I asked a very simple question that occurred to me, not as someone who was playing a documentary, but simply as someone who was trying to live in this country. I said, how come everyone knows the Ramseys are guilty? Because I lived in the Boulder Valley, I lived in Denver Metro area.
Not everyone does.
Most people, forgive me,
listen, Michael,
please, Peter,
Michael,
get real.
Please, let me complete. You don't. You told me in my office you don't believe they're guilty, so you assume everyone else is a bunch of sheep going to slaughter. You yourself believe they're innocent. Your producer told Lisa Levitt-Reichman of the Rocky Mountain News that this whole documentary was about what the media was doing to the Ramseys.
No, he did not. That's not the way in which
he did. She quoted him. You take that up with her.
Peter, I understand.
Was that in the Rocky Mountain News?
I understand what the phrase was that was least quoted. What he was saying was basically we were concerned to look at the way in which the media dealt with this.
Well, that isn't
case.
what
But
he was
Peter,
quoted
it is
saying.
I mean,
Something else.
Please, Peter, it is not within the realms of imagination to believe that most people in the Boulder Valley and most people in the Denver metro, in fact, most people on the planet. I was in Australia. Where the Vanity Fair piece had been extensively read last November. I've not met very many people who don't think John and Patsy Ramsey did this. I have never declared publicly what I think about this crime.
Mike Tracy, do you remember the O.J. trial? A lot of people thought he did it, and he walked because they couldn't convince 12. I got to run to a break. Mike Tracy will be back after this break. We'll also talk about the grand jury. Mike and Peter have a good fight going. Geraldine will get in on it. Bob Grant's here. And Ann-Louise Bardock of the aforementioned Vanity Fair read all the way in Australia, where they think John and Patsy are guilty on account. We'll be back with more after this break. Stay with us.
Back here in studio, Jann Scott with you till just 9 o'clock, 440-3572. What did you think of all of that was going on there? Michael Tracy has got a point, the professor, but you know, really, what the hell was he doing? Here's a journalism professor at CU coming out, producing a documentary for the Ramseys, insisting that they're innocent. And, I mean, this guy really blew it. If he was going to do this documentary, he should have done it 6 months ago. They're convening a grand jury. You know, Alex Hunter and the grand jury are going to indict the Ramsey family. The police are going to arrest them. And they're going to be proven guilty. His credibility as a journalism professor at CU is down the tubes. Now, down the tubes, but of course it's down the tubes. That CU journalism department's run by Wick Rowland, right? Roland Wickland, whatever his name is. Right over here, Zach. Come on, let's go. We got a camera over here? Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. The journalism department at CU sucks. Turn your mic up there, Jim. I hear you laughing. The journalism department at CU sucks. When they've got Wick Rowland running the journalism department, you've got people like Michael Tracy out there being a wag for the Ramseys, Jim.
Hey, you missed the best part of that show. Dick Cavett called in.
Yeah.
Yeah. He called Geraldine Merritt an adenoidal little girl.
No, I don't.
I know nothing about the journalism school at CU. You do know everything. You know everybody, don't you?
Well, I know that the journalism school at CU is a bunch of crap. I mean, when you have a state employee out doing an infomercial for the two parent murderers in our community, it's like, what the hell was this guy
They
thinking?
call it consulting, and they're allowed to do that. You know, they're allowed to work on the NASA projects and so on. Sure, they have time to do these kinds
He's
of
just made a complete fool
research projects.
We got to turn that thing down in here because it's really reverberating. But yeah, he's just made a complete fool out of himself, I think. Jim?
I thought it was about half and half. They had him wiggling on some questions, but he had some good points also.
Okay, what were his good points? Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
Hey, we're coming up to the end of the show, and I'm getting ready to put the credits on, so I didn't write all this down for you.
No, well, you have to write it down for me. I was just like wondering what you thought.
He just thought that the media was way over. You know, there were 300 here at one time during the early parts of the story. You even said that. So some of his points parallel
the media
what you've been saying.
Now it's time for the media, to lay it on the Ramseys. Now it's time. When the media comes after our community, that part just thoroughly pisses me off to no end. But when they come after our police department in our town, going after the Ramseys, that's a whole other thing. They deserve it. Guilty as sin, Michael Tracy. They're guilty as sin. What the hell are you doing in there with them?